function, very similar to this one, is just the right function, which does exactly the same, but it gets characters from the right as opposed to from the left. And if I run this, we get tons from fentons, then low 15 from hello 15, and then unton from fenton. Okay, so that's the left and right functions. Now we have the trim function. Now, what the trim function does is it trims off any excess white spaces from the beginning and the end of a string. Now, I don't have actually any white spaces in any of my fields, so this is a good time to demonstrate a cool thing about MySQL functions, which is that you don't have to supply them arguments which are fields from a table in MySQL. What's funny about this is that SQL was invented to communicate with MySQL databases, but you can make SQL statements which don't communicate with the MySQL database in any way, such as this one I'm going to have here, which is lots of spaces, then hello, then lots more spaces, and close off a string. And what the trim function will do is get rid of all these spaces. Okay, and this has no relation to the database at all. It's not even talking to it, apart from the from users part, which basically will mean that it will trim this string for every row in the users table, which basically means it will trim it 3 times. We'll see it 3 times. The way we can remedy this actually is just, I think this will work. Yeah, there we go. We can just do select trim like that, and then we get that. Now, just to show you something is actually happening, I'm going to delete the function, and if I run this query now, you can see a big difference. There's lots of spaces here, whereas when we use the trim function, there were no spaces. Okay. Now, if I go back up, I'm going to change the function. The next function we have is the the final function actually we're going to look at today. We're looking at more in next tutorials, is the substring function. Now, this is another function which I didn't quite understand when I first looked at it in my book. I had to look at it in the MySQL resource again. But basically, the setup for the arguments is string. The first argument is the string, then the second argument is the position, I think, and then the third argument is the length. Now, let's maybe you don't understand it now, but when you see it in action, it should be much more clearer. So let's just go ahead. I'm gonna use the string as the last name field, and then my position will be from the third character in the string, and I'm going to say select 2 characters. And now, just explaining this before we run it, what's going to happen is it's going to get the last name for each row, it's going to go to the third character, or the third position in that string, and then it's going to get 2 characters from that position. Okay, and it's going to only get those. It's not going to get any of the rest of the string. So if I run that, you can see we get NT, LL, and NT. And if I run it again and change the second argument to 0, for instance, that will go from the start of the string and get only 2 characters. Sorry, 1 I have to put, don't I? There we go. We get FE, HE, and FE again. And we can use minus numbers, so I could put -1, and I'm not sure about -2. Can try it. No, that didn't work. Okay, let's just try doing 2. Yeah, okay, it only goes, because -1 is 1 character before the end of the string, it can only get 1 more character, so for that reason it only returns 1 character. If I change that to, even though we told it to return 2 length, if I change this to -2, it will get the last 2 characters, okay? So that's the last function. Now the only other thing we're going to look at now is aliases, which in a select query, if we want to select, for instance, the last name, and but we feel that last name is too long of a name, this really it shows off its colors in when we use it in PHP. But If in a PHP script I feel last name is too long a variable name, what I can do is I can use aliases. I can say select last name and then and then I just type a name of what I want it to be once it's been selected. So L_n, for instance, from users. Now what will happen is it won't show any difference here, apart from the fact that that's L_n as opposed to way up top when we first selected it. It was last name. Okay, the only when we actually were in PHP, rather than referring to the variable as like $_ or $row, you'll see what all this means later. $row last name, because the row array will contain all the things. What you would refer to it as is L_n, and that's what aliases allow us to do. So say we had a really long name like select. Oops, keep doing that. Select registration date. That's a massive name, and if you're going to be typing that out all the time, it's just going to be ugh. You could do select registration date as dr, date registered, or r_, or yeah, r_d for registration_date. That's just an abbreviation from users. And then when you refer to it in your PHP script, it would be r_d as opposed to registration_date. And that is all aliases are, and they are really useful when you have long names like that. But anyway, for now, guys, that's over now.